That's the back of the refinery. I see a door there, but it probably has an alarm. Can you use the ventilation duct?
You mean that huge fan?
Just cut off the blades as it spins. Easy, yes?
We got anything on that ray I went up against?
We analyzed the wreckage. Its musculature had been replaced with CNT muscle fiber. The same type as you, or most any cyborg. This improved its power output and left more room in the chassis for other equipment. It seems they filled this space with Vetronics and extra weapons.
Like that heat blade and plasma gun. Plasma loses effectiveness in the air pretty quickly, but it's still a hell of a close-range weapon.
Large-scale UGs have a growing problem fighting smaller, more agile opponents like you, Raiden. This is why we now see UGs armed with new countermeasures, such as this Ray had.
Hey, so, Kev, buddy, about the refinery. Can I get a quick breakdown of the facilities?
Copy that. I suppose you should at least know a few basics for the mission. So, like I was saying, the refining process is based around distillation. The tallest building on site is the distillation tower. All the crude oil runs through there first, where it's distilled at different boiling ranges. Lighter components with low boiling points are removed at the top of the tower, heavier ones at the base. The heaviest fuel oil then has the lighter oils and naphtha that distillation didn't remove taken out. Fluid catalytic cracking is what they call it. Other than that, let's see. There's equipment to remove sulfur, a cooling tower to dispose of all the water used. Oh, and the flare stack to eliminate gas waste. You see that thing with flames shooting out the top? That's the stack.
It's burning the gas off?
Yeah, burns it up completely, rendering it harmless. Kinda hypnotic if you stare at it a while, huh? Next door you have a power plant. It's pretty typical for this type of facility. And of course the gas tanks. Liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is pressurized and stored in those round tanks. It's also artificial, but it's got a certain charm, you know? Like the ultimate in utilitarian beauty. A solitary distillation tower, all lit up and set against the setting sun. It's an amazing sight.
Kev, you still with me there?
What? You don't appreciate this kind of stuff? Places like Germany and Japan, people get really into it. Factory sightseeing tours and everything.
Yeah. No, not so much.
Right, FYI, we just confirmed with the client for your next mission.
Great. How about we finish this one first, though? I'd like to see my family again someday, you know? My son's going to forget he even has a father.
90-day contracting tour, buddy. We're all in the same boat. Man, feels like ages since I was back in Virginia.
I don't know about in the same boat. These guys are out to tear me limb from limb. Worst you are EMF desk jockeys have to worry about are paper cuts.
All right. Guess you don't want to hear what your old friends are up to then.
Who is it?
Desperado.
Where is it this time?
Mexico. Apparently they've got some kind of lab in Guadalajara. You're going in to investigate claims of human trafficking and illegal dumping.
And our client? Who's picking up the tab? If we're planning to play police all of a sudden, we're gonna need some kind of budget.
No worries there. It's a human rights group we've worked with a few times before. They were conducting their own trafficking investigation when Desperado came up.
Understood. You can brief me when I get back.
Roger that.
Where the hell did Desperado get all these cyborgs anyway, Kev?
Hard to say. They're not as rare as they once were, but still. Of all registered PMC troops, we're still talking, what, 3% have enhancements? Maybe 5% tops. Mostly career military who got hurt on the battlefield one way or another. Getting their arms or legs back lets them keep earning a living. But most able-bodied soldiers are still reluctant to sacrifice their own healthy body parts. Plus, the surgery is highly specialized. Expensive as hell. Not to mention maintenance costs after that. Unless insurance is footing the bill, most guys couldn't afford enhancements even if they wanted to.
Maverick's got some cyborgs. What's their story? They all wounded in action?
Mostly. I heard a few saved up and paid for it themselves, but just a few. There is this one crazy blonde guy, though. I heard he asked for a full body conversion.
The Patriots didn't leave me much of a body to begin with. I just had Herr Doctor finish what they started.
You know I'm just giving you shit, man. Anyway, yeah. Looking at the numbers, cyborg soldiers are still a pretty small minority. Not really surprising when only contractors in developed countries are offered insurance. Third world soldiers get hurt out on the field, and that's all she wrote. They can't work as a merc anymore. Most times, they can't really work at all.
Well, Desperado's up to something, because cyborgs are definitely not in the minority here.
I've heard of some PMCs covering the cost of the surgery for their disabled. The mercs get their career back, sure, but the PMCs aren't exactly running a charity. These guys have to work to pay it off until the company at least breaks even on them. Any cyborg breaks his contract early would probably be in debt for the rest of his life.
You think that's Desperado's MO?
I can't prove it, but sure as hell wouldn't surprise me.
So what kind of deal does Maverick offer its contractors?
Oh yeah, I forgot you're full-time too. You never contracted with us?
Nope. Boris invited me on board the first time we talked about it. We've known each other since Area 51. Didn't have any reason to turn him down, so yeah. Never really considered the contract route.
Right. Well, it's actually pretty rare for guys on the ground like you to be full-timers. Most of Maverick's soldiers are contractors, just like with any other PMC. It just makes sense. After all, it's never the same job twice in this business. Each mission has its own requirements. Force size, skill set, all that crap. So generally, we contract out on a per-mission basis, or a fixed schedule for longer jobs. A lot of US companies are doing it that way lately, not just PMCs. Besides, a good contractor can earn more than most regular full-time employees. Definitely a hell of a lot more than regular military.
And if they want to quit, can they get out of their contract?
Yep. Of course, just up and quitting right in the middle of a mission and cause problems. Just like any other job, you know? We'd want some notice to settle on a new end date, but hold up. You're not thinking of leaving us, are you?
Just curious. You still busy with all that other work, Kev?
You know me, man. Kev of all trades. I got a lot on my plate. Briefing prep, arms procurement, client negotiation, HR, biz dev, accounting, you name it. Lately, though, I've been focusing more on sales and on-site coordination. Oh, and advisor work like this.
Never sleep, do you?
Things have been better since Courtney joined up, at least.
You know, I have to hand it to you guys. Cyborgs are just amazing to me. So much power and speed.
It's not all gravy.
No? How so?
Well, things have improved a lot in the past few years. But back when I was modded for the first time, keeping artificial blood free of impurities was a huge hassle. Artificial muscles need a constant flow of oxygen from a blood source, just like the real thing. But it was a challenge getting the kidney units as small as they needed to be. We all had to undergo routine dialysis.
Sounds rough.
Used to be even worse back when Dr. Clark was still experimenting. Bad nerve connections would screw with the test subject's pain receptors. It was torture. Compared to that, I had it pretty easy.
It wasn't until recently that you could eat and drink like normal people, right?
That's right. We generally use glucose-based nutrient packs to keep the brain running. But we can absorb nutrients orally now, too. Whatever we eat's broken down by nanomachines, and we have taste sensors as well. It's not exactly like it was before. The difference is, I can turn those sensors off if I don't need them. That's been surprisingly useful.
So cyborgs can live pretty much normal lives now?
Well, getting there. We still need fuel cells and nutrition packs, not to mention regular maintenance. It's a lot of dough. Of course, another big problem's how other people look at you.
How do you mean?
There was a time when I wore artificial skin. Tried to look as close to normal as possible. I've still got some now, on my face. The tech at the time wasn't great. You still looked pretty unnatural. Maybe you could fool someone from far away, but up close, even a baby could tell I wasn't human. Going out shopping or whatever, you could feel all those eyes on you. I tried to find something to do other than fight, but looking like I did got me 2 strikes pretty much as soon as I walked through the door.
That sounds terrible.
Well, you appreciated it when people were honest about it, at least. But when they were too polite to just say so, that was rough. Things are getting better these days, though. Artificial skin's improved a lot. And you don't get so many stares now that the general public knows about cyborgs.
Maybe I should look into the cyborg thing, huh? I could eat whatever I want, whenever I want.
Probably cheaper just getting lipo, Courtney.
Jerk.
There's something I'd like your opinion on.
What's up?
It's how I replenish my electrolytes. I'm basically feeding off these cyborgs.
Oh, yeah. That. I don't really see any better options, to be honest. I doubt your old body would have stood up against the Desperado Captains or Jetstream Sam. And if we fail here, it's not only bad for us, but for our clients, and all of Sakumi.
Yeah, you're right.
Besides, it's like you say, no one's forcing them to be here. They chose to throw in with the terrorists.
Yeah.
I won't lie, I don't feel great about it. But in the scheme of things, yes, I think it's justified.
Thanks. I guess it's never black and white in this business, is it?
No. No, it's not. Do you and Kevin work a lot together, Raiden?
Well, Maverick's not that big. Unless you're a short-term contractor, you tend to work with the same guys. Last job we were on together, I was hired by the Carabinieri to track down 3 Albanian mafiosos. They'd fled Italy for Montenegro, and I had to bring them back. It wasn't easy. All 3 of them had cybernetic upgrades. Without Kev, I could have been in serious trouble.
He was with an NGO before Maverick, I think, handling disarmament work for the UN.
Yeah. He and Boris met while working together to resolve a conflict in Africa. They hit it off. So when Boris gave him a job opportunity, he took it.
I kind of wonder why. We're pretty much the opposite of a disarmament outfit.
3 things are needed after a conflict: disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration into society. That's the way it usually goes. I guess Kevin felt like the process was getting to be a joke. Even if the UN taps the group that caused the conflict for post-war cleanup, there's no way of ensuring their sincere cooperation. There's always a chance they'll underreport the number of soldiers they've got on hand.
That, or they only disarm the useless parts of their force. The ones with outdated weapons and gear.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they can hide their standing force, the one with all the up-to-date weaponry, from the UN. Afghanistan saw a lot of that, since the wars were all waged by rival military cliques. Anyway, Kev saw that happening on a daily basis in Africa. Guess he just wanted a job where he had a firmer grasp on what was going on. And then along comes Boris. Kev had to think it over for a while, sure. But, well, here we all are.
PMCs are going to need more people like him. And me too, I guess. You know, civilian viewpoints.
Couldn't agree more.
Raiden, are you fully versed in the features of your AR display? It can serve many functions, you know.
Do I hear un lecture coming on?
A lecture? No, of course not. I'm hardly an expert. Of course, I know the first practical application of the technology was for aircraft HUDs. Then head-mounted displays, HMDs. The data could be seen even as the viewer moved their head. As the technology improved, it was integrated into retinal imaging, contact lenses. Soon it became standard issue not just for pilots, but infantry soldiers as well. Of course, with cyborgs such as yourself, the data can be fed directly to the optic nerve.
No lecture, huh? Anyway, there's more to my augmented reality than just upgraded HMD tech.
Of course there is, Dummkopf. You did not let me finish.
Oh, you weren't finished?
AR is a much broader concept. It is more a design concept than a particular imaging methodology. It encompasses HUDs, HMDs, any and all manner of visual real-time data overlay. Though recently, some reserve the AR label for virtual objects the subject can both see and touch. For example, your codec menu and zoom slider. Such objects do not exist anywhere in the real world, not even as images. They are fed directly to your optic nerve, so only you can see them. Yet, when you interact with them, sensory feedback is delivered to the nerves in your fingers. It gives you the sense of touching a thing that does not exist.
Beats lugging around a sat radio and giant scope, that's for sure.
There is another school of thought on precisely what constitutes AR.
Seriously, more of this?
It defines AR as anything which obscures the boundary between reality and that experienced by the viewer.
Well, how would that be different from VR?
Well, for example, let's say that you and I are having a nice chat face to face. Suddenly, I disappear, poof, and in my place appears a ravishing, nubile young woman. Is the girl the projected image or the reality? Perhaps I was the AR. How would you know?
The accent might be a clue.
Ah, such things can be controlled with a simple hack of your auditory nerves.
Well, that's comforting. So how is this different from VR again?
Well, I suppose, strictly speaking, it is rather similar. Both are a method for completely fooling the senses, rather than simply augmenting them. Although, technically it would be MR, mixed reality, since there are some real elements involved. Yes, of course, that would be the distinction and the correct term. In any case, the advance of MR technology leads to many interesting philosophical questions. What happens when appearances cease to have meaning? It is no longer see it to believe it, after all. It could make for a great advance in cyborg acceptance, you know. They could project a perfectly normal human body to be seen by anyone who can perceive MR.
I don't know. Sounds like it might cause more problems than it'd solve to me. Hey Doc, what can you tell me about the carbon nanotubes used in artificial muscles? I know they're the real key behind the proliferation of cyborgs, but...
Well, a carbon nanotube, or CNT, is a sheet of carbon graphite formed like a tube. They range from 50 nanometers in diameter all the way down to under 1 nanometer. 1 nanometer, you recall, is 1/1 billionth of a meter. Quite small. As you've likely seen, the carbon atoms that make up the sheet are organized in a 6-point ring shape. These hexagonal structures are connected to each other along their edges.
Sort of like a soccer ball.
Precisely. Such structures are known as Buckminster fullerene. CNTs were discovered by accident while scientists were researching other fullerenes. CNTs have assorted properties, each with the potential to drive vast leaps in industrial technology. Consider, for example, that the conducting properties and resistance to strong currents far outclass copper. They have great mechanical strength and can be shaped into incredibly thin form factors, all of which can directly contribute to improving integrated circuits. Furthermore, the atomic links in sp2 carbon are the strongest of all types of atoms. Its tensile strength is greater than even diamond. All that, and its weight is only half that of aluminum. It is also quite elastic, making it ideal for bomb-proofing vehicles, buildings, and other structures.
Sounds like some kind of wonder material.
There have been numerous plans drawn up for orbital elevators in the past. The problem being that no material was strong enough to make them practical. CNTs make such dreams one step closer to reality. You can change their structures by using the right power voltage, and they can withstand temperatures between -190 and +1500 degrees centigrade. They feature a large surface area and an empty space within the tube. This allows for such things as fuel and catalysts to be stored inside. It's that particular trait which has enabled the development of fuel cell-infused artificial muscles.
Straight out of sci-fi, huh?
Well, truth is stranger than fiction. Science fiction, even. Scientists are currently expanding upon all of CNT's uses. But it has taken a fair amount of time since their discovery for practical implementations to pop up. Historically, mass manufacture was deemed too difficult, the costs astronomical.
Practical manufacturing methods were established in the early 2010s, but the Patriots hushed that up.
Indeed. And now that it's out in the wild, we are finally well and truly in the carbon nanotube age.